Thanks for staying up later. I'm Bob Costas. Tonight we'll be visited by one of the classic names in the history of rock and roll. Back in the early 60s, before the British invasion, Del Shannon had a string of hits that vaulted into the top of American popular music. But let's make a distinction here. Del Shannon was not and is not a pop star. He's a legitimate rock and roll guy. He wrote his own stuff, hard-driving stuff, that still holds up. In fact, in 1986, his classic Runaway was adapted as the theme song for the NBC show Crime Story. Now, this little item is more than just a jukebox. It's a video machine. It's a time machine, in fact. Let's take you back to 1961, the old American Bandstand show. Here's Del Shannon with Runaway.
I'm a-walking in the rain, tears are falling and I feel a pain, wishing you were here by me to end this misery. And I wonder, I wonder why she ran away. And I wonder where she will stay.
How long did it take to write and record Runaway?
3 hours.
The whole thing?
Yeah, well, I did come back, I think, to New York and re-overdub a voice, the lead voice, but yeah, you'd walk in the old days, it was 2-track, and we did, they had a band there, and we had Runaway Jody, the B-side, and Max Crook, my organist at the time, had his little Musitron that he played the solo in Runaway, and he did The Snake and some other song, 4 songs in 3 hours.
How about writing it? How long did it take you to write it? Did it just come to you in a burst?
Well, I think I read a lot of songs in the back of my mind before they come out, but when they come out, they just, whoop, there they are, you know. Like Runaway was done on stage in Battle Creek at that High-Low Club one night when Max hit an A minor and a G, and I said, wow, what a great change that was. So I said, look, follow me, everybody follow me, everybody. It's only Max, a bass player, and me. So I went dun 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 dun, and Max followed me all through the song. I'd call out G, F, and I just followed this whole structure of song. And the next day I wrote the words to it.
When Runaway hit in early 1961, it was on the charts for 15 to 20 weeks. It was #1 for better than a month. You come out of total obscurity. Yeah. Bingo, here you are, you're a big star. How old were you?
I think I was 21 or something. Sometimes I lie about my age.
You were 21 then?
Yeah, I was 21 then. Let's just say I was 21 then, a little bit older than that. And it just came out of nowhere, you know. I mean, I called up one day my manager, and I said, I was working in this horrible club in Battle Creek, Michigan, the High-Low Club. I mean, the fights and knifings and bottle throwing. And I says, we just cut this record, how's it doing? And he said, it's selling about 80,000 records a day. I says, is that good? Is that good? I had no idea about the record business. And he said, yes, and you're opening next week at the Paramount. And I couldn't believe it, you know.
The Broadway Paramount.
That's right, yeah, with Dion and Jackie Wilson and all these acts. Where you come out and you do your hit, and then you go back to your dressing room. You do it 5 times a day, and in between they play a Frankie Avalon movie or something. So it was really shocking. I didn't know what to do. They took my guitar away from me, my old manager. You don't use a guitar, he had a big cigar. You don't use a guitar, you do like Frank Sinatra. You get cufflinks, you wear a suit. You know, so
he just wanted you to come out and lip sync? Were you lip syncing
no,
at that
no,
point?
we had a band, but no guitar, you know.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's like...
You wouldn't stand for that, would you?
No, I didn't after that, no. My guitar's with me all the time. Except when I did Sha Na Na once, and they wanted me to do a little dance or something, you know. I says, hey, I'm not a dancer. I'm a singer and I play guitar, you know. But my guitar ever since has been with me. I'll always have it with me.
When you appear on Dick Clark, though, at least initially, you have to lip sync. I mean, that's one of the staples of American Bandstand. A guy can have a record that requires 42 different musicians to get the orchestration and the arrangement down, but he stands up there by himself and lip syncs the damn thing.
And sometimes when you use your guitar on those shows, you'd stand up there with your guitar and you didn't have a plug. It was ridiculous. At least when they kept doing that, I noticed that, and I said, before we do this, I need a chord. At least it'll look like I am actually playing, you know.
How closely could you match it? Did the lips match?
I was a pretty good lip syncer, I think.
But did you feel good about it? It wasn't a real performance,
Oh,
right?
in those days you didn't care, you know. I mean, it wasn't unhip not to do it. I mean, it was just, you just did it. Today they do it in videos on purpose.
Yeah. What about those girls in the background on Runaway? They're jumping up and down, cheerleader style.
Oh, well, I can't even remember them doing it. And why they were doing it, I didn't know even, I didn't remember using them. I really don't.
How about when you came to New York? You mentioned that you worked with Dion. By this time, he's established. He's had a lot of hits.
Mm-hmm.
Did he look upon you as kind of a kid wet behind the ears?
Yeah. He said, well, I walk in this little, first of all, I thought, wow, I'm working Broadway, and now I'm out of the Strawberry Patch, and I'm out of selling carpets, and I'm out of all this other junk, you know. Because when I was in the Strawberry Patch in Coopersville, in the summer, you used to work in the Strawberry Patch.
Coopersville, Michigan.
Yeah, and earn a few bucks. Well, I hated the Strawberry Patch, and I never really stayed long at picking strawberries. But there's where I always told people, I'm going to be a star, I'm going to be in the movies. And they used to tell me that, so I always feel that when they said that I was going to Broadway and open up there with Dion and all these people, I said, wow, it's going to be a great dressing room, and it's all going to be different now. I got in this little room. It was just like a toilet. And there was Dion and Bobby V, and we're all in the same little room.
Bobby, The Night Has a Thousand Eyes?
That's right. And I walked over, and I stepped on, I think, Bobby or Dion's toe. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry. I said, look at what a klutz this guy is. Hey, Bobby, look at his pants. And look at his shoes.
What was
look
wrong
at
with
all
your
his...
pants and shoes?
Well, they were all baggy. I thought, you know, baggy. At the time, it was hip, I guess, to have tight pants. Peg legs.
Yeah.
So Dion was a great dresser. So was Bobby in those days. I mean, really immaculate. And I walk in from Coopersville with a red tie and red socks and these baggy black pants.
A lot of artists and groups that had hits in the 60s went through a period of time where they thought it was unhip to play those hits in concert. I don't know how many shows I went to during that period of time where a good portion of the audience was screaming, begging for the hits, and the artists almost disdainfully refused to do them at all or saved them for the very end before sending the people home happy. Did you go through that too?
Yeah, I went through it. I watched others go through it, I think, more or less. I was at the time, I was producing Brian Hyland when we had Gypsy Woman. So I would go out and just sing background with Brian. I thought it was great, and I was managing the Smith, and I could get fat and smoke cigars, because I used to smoke cigars in the old days. And it was a great time for me in life, but I'd noticed other people weren't doing their hits, and they're all trying to be this, getting back to reality. They were trying to be like Bobby V came out with an album called Robert Villain, and I said, well, that's cool, man, I'll just be the real self. We got to find ourselves now. So I had The Further Adventures of Charles Westover, which is my real name. And all people were going through, everyone was following each other to nowhere.
So anyway, here you are, and you're not doing Runaway for a while. What convinced you that, and it isn't just Runaway, I mean, it's Little Town Flirt, and Hats Off to Larry, and Searching, and everything else.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't. I just got out for 3 years when the Beatle invasion came, and I still had, I went through that, and then I started producing. I knew something was going on, you know. I went to see Frank Sinatra once, and I wanted to see Frank Sinatra. So I went and I saw Frank, and Frank was unbelievable. I mean, he did all his great hits, but at the end he started doing America. And why is he doing that? And he did something in your eyes.
And he went through a period of time where he started covering rock and roll stuff.
Yeah, he did do that, yeah, and that's fine, because where else are you going to go, I guess, you keep doing it. But, you know, for an artist like Frank Sinatra, or even the Rolling Stones started again doing their hits, Satisfaction and stuff like that. And I was starting to be aware of that what's wrong with being who you are? It's silly. Now, Dion is doing his hits, and I saw Dion and I worked together last year, and Dion's not been on the road much. He's been into his thing, and which is great, you know. But now he's back, and I saw him, and I sat through the whole show, and he did Ruby Baby and all his great hits, and he had a great band, and it made me feel good. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay to be Del Shannon, you know.
It really made people feel good recently when you came out on the Letterman show. I mean, to hear you do Runaway pretty nearly the way it sounded in 1961 with that hard driving sound, you realize how happy that makes people?
Stay tuned. Later, we'll be right back.
No one will understand what I've gotta do. Gotta find a place to hide with my baby by my side. That'll hurt so much to treat her mean and cruel. Try to keep us far apart. There's only one thing that we can do. Gotta keep searching, searching. Find a place to hide, searching, searching. She'll be by my side if we gotta keep on the road. Follow the sun. Follow the sun.
More now with Del Shannon. You knew Elvis at least a little bit, huh?
Very little, yeah. His office, when I was producing Brian Hyland, I remember the day, I remember their office calling and said, we're up in Las Vegas with Elvis, and he's doing Runaway in his act, and he'd like you to be his guest. So we went up there, and it was quite a funny night. I'm sitting there, and Elvis says, I'd like to do a song. I was drinking a little bit that night, as usual in those days, and I'd like to introduce now, Del, you out there, and he went like that, and I remember him doing that, and they got the spot, and they couldn't find where I was sitting, and Brian Hyland, who is really a shy guy, one of the shyest guys, he always loved Elvis, but he was so shy, he gets up in the middle of all these people, he's over here, and he pointed down at me, and I took a bow. You know, I don't think Elvis introduced too many people, I don't think.
How was Elvis's Runaway?
It was pretty good, you know. I liked Bonnie Raitt's better, but we did talk with Elvis for a couple hours after the show. We got back and talked to him, and he wasn't drunk or bombed or anything. I think I was much more drunk than he was.
And at that point, he wasn't bloated yet, right? He
No,
was still reasonably trim.
he was the best-looking guy I'd ever seen in my life. I never seen a man look so. You're a good-looking guy yourself, Bobby.
And a lot of
Elvis
people
was,
compare me to Elvis, pretty much.
well,
yeah,
what
that
can I
happens
say?
all the time.
But Elvis Presley was the best-looking man I've ever seen. Now, maybe it was his makeup. I don't know. But even though the movies and all that, seeing him in person was amazing. And this guy was so good-looking.
They say he had almost an animal magnetism about him.
He was just amazing. And he looked great, and he had all these little, these little belts and stuff that he wore. And we sat and talked for about 2 hours.
You were one of the first rock and roll guys who wrote almost all of his own stuff. That became commonplace later, but you were writing almost all your own stuff. Now, you have an interesting distinction. Elvis recorded Runaway, but so did Lawrence Welk.
That's right. I think it was the record of the year, or the instrumental of the year, that in '62 or '1.
Oh, no vocal on Lawrence Welk's
Well, I
Runaway.
liked him doing it. No, there's no vocals. Wah, 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 wah. They do that in it with girls or something, but I liked him doing it because it sort of puts you in a little, it expanded you into the adults maybe, I don't know. I just felt good when I hear it. It still does.
Into the very mature adults.
Because he did it so precise. I mean, every note's right and everything,
Lawrence Welk, Funk Master.
I wouldn't want him to do a whole catalog on me. Just one song, please, Lawrence.
Stranger in Town. That was, I guess you could say, an early rock video, right? Not too
Yeah.
complicated, but...
Yeah,
You know the piece I'm thinking about, where you've got the girl at your side, and no one else will look at you?
yeah, right.
You're
And
the stranger in town?
That's right. And they've got one of me in England. I don't know where that tape is, but if the windshield wipers are going, I'm in this make-believe car, and they got rain falling down out of a hose, and stranger in town. But Stranger in Town was a very, one of my, I think, most intense songs in the production Harry Balk did on it. Was a very good production. I mean, we had boards in it. Harry got a couple of boards of 2x4s and clapped them together like this. He had somebody clap them together, and so we run, boom, boom, tsh, boom.
Yeah.
He had these big clackers, man, and then he used tons of echo on it,
That song reminded me a little bit of some Orbison stuff, where you're able to create that feeling of movement and that feeling of desperation within a song.
Plus the vocal. I think I learned from Orbison the over you, that kind of thing. I just sort of automatically came to me, because I do crying every night wherever I work. I've done that song. And I also used it in, like you say, Stranger in Town. So we run, yeah, we run, yeah, we run. You know,
Yeah.
way up in there.
He's out to get me. Stranger in town wants me, my baby, follows me to every town. And if he gets me, he'll bring me down. So we run, yeah we run, yeah we run from the stranger in town.
Little town clerk calling for her. But you're gonna get her. I know it's so hard to resist temptation of her tender red lips. You can get her. You can get her. Fooling around with that little town clerk.
Del, when the British invasion hit, it blew away, at least temporarily, dozens and dozens of previously successful American artists, right?
Yes. Yes, it definitely did.
You recall the first time you performed in America with a British act?
Yes, I believe I do. It was in New York City. And it was with the Animals and whoever else was on the show, I don't know, but I know Bobby Rydell was on the show. And Bobby, I'd known Bobby for years, and he would never sit down before he went on, once he got his suit on. Frankie Day, his manager at the time, and Dion, I don't know if Dion ever sat down either, because you didn't want to wrinkle up your pants, you know. You wanted
You got
to
to
look
keep
real
that
cool.
good crease.
Right. So Bobby was standing behind the stage, because he always got dressed before he went on, and he would stand there, and he was standing behind a curtain, peeking at the reaction. He didn't say anything to me. I just looked at his face and saw this, maybe it was a bewildered look or something, and I said, something's going on here. Like, here's Bobby, he's had a million hits, and I've had a few myself, and the Animals are tearing up the place with one hit, The House of the Rising Sun. And I thought, that's when I better look into something else.
But there was a gutty sound to the House of the Rising Sun, and here's
Yeah.
Eric Burdon, who was, I guess, by any definition, kind of homely. Certainly he wasn't a guy who looked real sharp in the fashion that Bobby Rydell did, and Rydell is probably looking out, seeing the future. He's saying, hey, I can't go out and do Wild One and swing in school anymore.
Yeah, whatever he was thinking, I don't know, because we never talked about it. It's just a feeling I got that day when he did peek out there, and there was just that sort of look. He didn't really have to say anything.
On the
And
other
the look
hand,
was on my face, too. It was fear, really.
you mentioned the Beatles. You actually appeared with them a few times, right?
Not a few times. The Beatles and Brian, mainly. I knew Brian Epstein
Epstein.
better than their manager, better than I did the Beatles. The Beatles used to come backstage, and I did a lot of shows in England, and they'd come backstage and chat a bit. They were the strangest guys. I mean, especially John. I mean, it was like when I first met Dion, when I was in New York here doing the Paramount, one of my first shows in the business. I thought, this guy's from New York, but he sounds like he's from Mars or something. And I had the same feeling when I met John Lennon. I got to be really good friends with Dion, but John, he was something else. You know, they were very open and very frank. John was very frank and open.
Didn't you wind up
So,
covering one of the Beatles songs?
I did, yes, From Me to You. And I told John about it. I said, John, I'm going to, at the Albert Hall. I said, also, John, I'm going to cover From Me to You, because the English were always covering American artists. And when he said, that would be great, mate. But when he walked on stage, just on stage, he turned to me and he said, don't do that. And I did see him after that one time, and he never said anything about it, because at the time...
You think he was kidding, or why would he have
No,
a
I don't
legitimate
think he was
reason
kidding
not
at
to
all.
want you to cover it?
Yeah, I think Brian didn't want anybody to cover any of their songs before they were released in America. They really had a war program going, I think, to attack. I just read an article about Paul, or one of them, stating that they had Liverpool and London, and then the rest of the world, you know. And I really think Brian and the Beatles had that in mind, and they did it.
The man is also generous. Passed on where the action is, and Freddie Boom Boom Cannon added it to Palisades Park and Tallahassee Lassie in his portfolio.
That's fine. You can have it.
Del Shannon, it was great to see you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks for being with us. See you later, everybody.
Join Bob tomorrow night when his guests will be TV's Lou Grant, Ed Asner.